Your darn tunie's ready to play. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friday. You made it, even though Mother Nature's giving us a little taste of their wet weather. Looking at people's yards and the grass and everything, I think we need it. But the good news is that it looks like the weather forecast for the weekend's looking pretty good. I'm Dan Ahlstrand. In case you didn't know, I'm filling in for Todd today, who is a little under this weather that we're enjoying today. So we wish Todd a speedy recovery. Hopefully he'll be back in the chair next week. Before I get started, I tend to do this a lot, and I forget to thank Vanessa Vandenez on the other side of the glass. So I'm going to do it right off the top of the show today so I don't. Vanessa does an outstanding job, not only keeping me in line, but keeping the show running in the right direction. And it's a mammoth task, so to speak. So thank you very much to Vanessa on the other side of the window. I mentioned the forecast. Looks like it's going to be sunny all weekend. Right? Temperatures in those mid-20s. I don't know about the humidity, if it's going to be too bad, but if it isn't, it looks like we're in store for a lovely July weekend and to get out and enjoy some of the wonderful things in our province. We're so darn lucky to live here, aren't we? Right? If people come here, people travel to come and see what we get in our backyard every day, right? So if you haven't been out this summer, get out there and enjoy it. We're pretty lucky to live here. Aalders Aalders, by the way, will be in the studio here just after, I think, 12:45 today. To give us the very latest from the weather desk, so to speak. He'll be poring over his maps and models and all that stuff, and will give us the very latest so we know what we're getting into as we head into the afternoon or the early weekend, depending on if you're working or not. So we're looking forward to having that conversation. As is tradition on this show, the open hour will go in hour number 2 today, and there is plenty to talk about out there. I've got some thoughts on yesterday's debate at City Hall on the strong mayor. I'm sure you do too, if you've been following it. Strong mayors and provincial overreach, as I've been calling it. That's all going to be, I'm going to save my comments until the open hour. So make sure you stick around for the next 58 minutes. And then I hope that you join the conversation, because this is, I think, is a very serious topic that we need to talk about. And if you're out there listening there, HRM Council, and you're out there listening, provincial government, and I know you are, you might want to tune in for the open hour today, because you're going to hear it from what people think of these things as part of that open hour. Also, as I'm putting this together, this show together, I saw the news today about President Trump and another salvo in the trade war, and what does he say now? 35% tariffs coming in August 1st. Is it to the point for you that we're just not listening to him anymore? I think that this latest escalation, as people are calling it, is just Donald Trump being Donald Trump. And I also think that Prime Minister Mark Carney has a little bit of a responsibility for this latest, I don't even know what to call it anymore. I think that, by showing a little bit of, I don't know, I don't want to say weakness, I don't want to say timidness, but that whole thing with the digital services tax and him pausing that, it opened that door just a crack, didn't it? And when you let Donald Trump have that little inch in the door, he's going to kick it open a mile. So I look forward to your comments on this. But are we just tuning him out now with the history of President Trump and his tariffs? And, giving a deadline and then kicking that deadline down the road a month or two? Is this just another one of these things that we have to deal with? Anyway, look forward to that in the second hour today. Again, don't miss today's open hour. I truly hope that Premier Houston and all of HRM Council are listening today, because I'm sure they'll be very curious to hear what you have to say about strong mayor powers and that bill, 24, that gives the province all kinds of powers to usurp city council. I'll save my comments. I'm biting my tongue really hard here. I'll save my comments for later. But first, speaking of Mark Carney, we heard a couple of days ago from the Prime Minister saying that there's the infamous spending review underway, right? These are going to be spending cuts and efficiencies, as the spin doctors call it. And that is being sort of centered, I think, on the public service, and maybe trimming the public service, maybe making a significant haircut to the public service. And I'm sure that caught the attention of our next guest. We're very pleased to welcome to the program. The Regional Executive Vice President for PSAC Atlantic, that's Chris D. Liberatore. Chris, how are you?
Not too bad, Dan. Thanks.
Did I get the name right?
You absolutely did.
See, there you go. See, I pride myself on that. Anyway, to the matter of at hand here, Chris. I guess first brush on this must be worrisome for your membership as we go through this exercise.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of concern out there for our members not knowing when or if I shouldn't say if, but when they will be receiving the notification that their job their services may no longer be required. Just in the last fiscal year alone, there's been 10,000 federal public service jobs that were cut. And with this spending review, we're bracing to see what that's going to do. I mean, right after that announcement was done, one agency, the Canada Revenue Agency, they announced that they're going to be needing to find in the next 3 years $715 million in savings. So more often than not, governments take the easy way, they take the lazy way, and they approach that with job cuts instead of doing the hard work. And it's interesting listening to you talk about pausing the digital services tax. We have a revenue problem.
Right.
That's the biggest issue that we have, and we need a government that's going to be brave enough to do the hard work to address the revenues, as opposed to taking the easy route and cutting the public service.
Chris, it goes hand in hand when we discuss the civil service on this program. That I hear from people saying that Canada's civil service is bloated. It's too big. There's just way too much fat there. Is that the case? Is there too many people in the civil service?
I don't believe that there is. We have, the population has grown. Are there efficiencies that can be found? Yes, but that doesn't mean cutting jobs. We're willing to sit down. We've got some practical solutions that the government can use to save money, like cutting consulting fees that end up costing taxpayers millions of dollars with very little in return. And then, we've talked about it a lot. Reversing the return to office mandate. That alone, I mean, the government had previously booked $3 billion in savings on the offices that they were going to be able to reduce, and that really is a win-win. They can save the money that they're putting out on the upkeep of these federal buildings, be it through the leases or through their own properties, and convert those buildings to truly affordable public housing, affordable housing out there to address the housing crisis, which solves one of their other problems that they're dealing with.
The back to work or the return to work rules, it certainly has been a topic of discussion here on the program. Maybe you can explain, Chris, why it can save so much money. Would you essentially eliminate all the overhead? Would it be a completely work from home model or a hybrid model, or what is the union advocating for?
There's going to be folks that obviously can't work from home. There's just certain positions that can't be done from home. But those that can, you're going to be reducing that office space for sure, and that comes not just with the furniture and things that type of overhead, but also the utilities that would go into running that office. Like I said, I think it was 2 budgets ago. The government booked $3 billion in savings by offloading these properties. So we know that allowing folks to work from home where it works for them, be it in a hybrid model for some folks, or other people like our contact centers who have no need to collaborate with each other. It's a call center. They're on the phone from the time they start to the time they end, with 10 seconds in between calls to deal with the issue that they were just speaking with on the phone. And sometimes those calls are pretty hard when you're think about folks that are working at some of these contact centers who've just spoken with somebody who's lost a loved one, and they're trying to figure out the death benefits that they would be entitled to. Those can be some pretty difficult conversations, pretty, in some cases, traumatic conversations. And you got 10 seconds in between calls to deal with that, and then move on to the next one. And they wonder why there's such a high burnout rate in these contact centers.
You said that some wouldn't, their jobs just won't allow them to work from home, and you said that some would be on a sort of hybrid model. Do you have any indication how much office space would be freed up if we went down this road?
Well, we know the government was planning to reduce their holdings by 50%, and that would be, like I say, about a $3 billion savings. So if they kept to that model from a couple of budgets ago, there's $3 billion in savings right off the top.
What do your members that can't work from home have to say about people that can? I mean, is there why does that person get to work from home and I can't?
Well, some jobs just aren't able to work from home. I mean, we have tradespeople. A carpenter can't fix a problem in a workplace from their home. So those are the kinds of things that I'm talking about, as well as our ship's crews. You can't run a ship from your house, or do search and rescue operations from your house.
Understood.
Those are the kinds of things that I'm talking about.
Chris, you mentioned that you have some ideas outside of the work from home rule. Do you anticipate that the government will, or have they reached out to the unions to see what kind of cost of savings are out there, or do you think that that's going to be part of the process, or do you think they're just going to do it on their own?
Well, we're hoping that they're going to reach out to us. I mean, we've always been ready to and open to working with government to find savings, but again, we need a government that's going to be truly willing to work with us and work with unions and not go around them and take this approach that we're just going to cut our expenses, and the easiest way to do that is on the salary and benefits line.
Do you think that this is going to I've read it's going to decimate the civil service if it goes just based off jobs? Do you think that that's going to happen? And is there anything that the union can do to try and stop that?
Well, we're going to do everything we can to provide those options that would allow for the government to find the efficiencies and find the savings that they're looking for without impacting the workforce, or impacting it as minimally as possible. At the end of the day, as I mentioned, we already lost 10,000 public service jobs over the last year, and during the election, Mr. Carney, he promised caps on the public service, not cuts, and we're expecting him to maintain that promise.
Is AI factoring into this at all, or are you seeing AI taking over from jobs that humans used to hold?
Well, AI is here, and what we've been very clear about is that AI should be used as a tool, not as a replacement for workers. I mean, AI can't make decisions when it comes to some of these things, in immigration policies and things of that nature. It's an algorithm that can help our workers, help our members do the work that they do. All you have to do is look at what's going on with the Grok or whatever that is that Elon Musk has going on, and one small, one change can really mess up the entire system. So we need the people there. Provide it as a tool to help our members do their work and be more efficient with their work, but don't use it to replace them.
The public sector unions had a briefing with the government. Did they indicate when they're going to make this decision, or when we're going to know?
Well, there's a deadline for providing information, a deadline for the departments and agencies as well, towards the end of August. As far as a decision, I suspect that will come with the budget that they plan to introduce in the fall. Other than that, we have no idea when exactly this is going to come into play. Again, we've heard from one agency that they're going to be looking for $715 million in savings over the next 3 years. That's their portion of this that they've been targeted or tasked with finding. Some departments are not being impacted as much as defense, for example, is they're only asking them for 2%. So we don't know where or exactly when this will be implemented, but we'll be keeping an eye, and again we'll be providing our input on how on what kind of practical solutions we can provide to the government to help them with their spending review, and that's going to be minimally impactful on our members.
Chris, I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Dan.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
That is Chris Liberatore. He is he's the regional executive vice president of PSAC Atlantic. When we come back, we're going to get into a bit of a thorny subject. A nonprofit group that advocates for access to therapy using psychedelic drugs has won a legal battle in a years-long fight with Health Canada. We'll get into it when we return. You're listening to The Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Aalders, and we are back in minutes. Welcome back. This is the Todd Veinotte Show. No, you're not hearing things. Todd's not here today. I'm Dan Aalders, filling in for Todd. He was not feeling the best, so hopefully he's back in the chair on Monday. We've been talking about this off and on for a little while now, and this article came onto our website, that it's halifax.citynews.ca, earlier this week, and it reads, a nonprofit group that advocates for access to therapy using psychedelic drugs has won a legal battle in a years-long fight with Health Canada, one the organization believes now is far from over. Therapsil obtained exemptions under the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act in 2020 that allowed 19 healthcare workers to undergo experimental training involving taking mushrooms or psilocybin with, I know I get that wrong all the time, magic mushrooms for the easy way to say it, to do that. Now, there's an obvious turning point here, one that for the public, one for sure, clinicians, and certainly parts of the government are waking up to the reality that psychedelics work. That the quote from the Director of Communications for Therapsil, and that is John Gilchrist. John, how are you? And am I saying that right?
Which part?
The name of the company.
Sorry? Yeah. The P is silent, but
okay.
Don't worry about it. Everyone gets that.
Therapsil, got it. Anyway, thanks for joining the show. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, my pleasure, and wishing Todd the very best.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, moving on. Tell me a little bit about this fight. Now, psychedelics they've been around a long time, but we're just starting to see them move now out of the shadows and into the mainstream for different types of therapies.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, Therapsil, we advocate for medical regulations to psychedelics like psilocybin. And clinical studies at Johns Hopkins, NYU, UCLA show that just a few guided sessions or even one session for many people with something like psilocybin can dramatically reduce end-of-life anxiety, depression, PTSD, and we've even seen pretty cool results with cluster headaches, like suicide headaches. So these are people who have tried everything else, who are out of options, and what we're seeing is that psychedelics can potentially work very quickly with long-lasting effects. And yeah, this legal case is really about whether healthcare professionals can get proper training to deliver safe, effective psychedelic therapy.
This is along the same lines that we saw when the debate was ongoing about marijuana, right, and cannabis and its medicinal uses. Yeah,
there's interesting connections there to cannabis. I mean, the obvious answers are the stores that you're seeing all over the place, the fact that people are generally interested in psychedelics like they were in cannabis at the time. And what I'd say is actually the strongest connection is the public appetite for legalization of psychedelics. Similar to cannabis at the time when it was legalized for first medical use, we're seeing in our polling about 80% of Canadians would like to see psychedelics legalized for medical use. So, yeah, I mean, it seems the logical extension of cannabis to regulate and legalize psilocybin and other psychedelics, but that's what we're here for as an organization, just try to bring that about.
What's the downside of these drugs? Are they addictive, or are they habit forming, that kind of thing?
No. On harm ratings, potential harm and addiction for substances like psilocybin mushrooms and MDMA, there's virtually no addictive profile. Of course, there are potential downsides to any substance. However, in terms of addiction, no.
So just to set the table here, we're not advocating that these things become mainstream as cannabis has become, but this to be in a controlled environment under the direction of a doctor.
That's exactly right. That's what Therapsil is advocating for. So we're not advocating for mainstream or casual use of psychedelics. What we're calling for are regulated medical supervised access for people with serious health conditions. So, yeah, Therapsil, our team, there's just about 5 people that work here. And our one goal is essentially to ensure that Canadians with serious mental and physical health conditions can legally access these substances with access to trained healthcare professionals as well. So in that vein, we also train clinicians. We train them to support patients, to advocate for clear, compassionate regulations. And when access is unfairly denied, we take these challenges to court and keep winning.
So now that you have that court decision in your back pocket, what's next now is to tackle government?
Well, so at this point, the case isn't finished. As you mentioned in the preamble there, in 2020, 19 healthcare professionals engaged in our training were exempted to use psilocybin as part of this training, which is a crucial part of the learning process to safely support patients. But then starting in 2022, Health Canada started blocking these, like every new application for training, without justification. And so at this point, a federal court of appeal judge has ruled that these blanket refusals were unreasonable. So the judge has ordered the health minister to re-review every single case. And so now it goes back to the minister. So we'll wait to see what the minister says. If she, I think, sides with science and compassionate access, then fantastic, and we'll potentially have some like this. And if they don't, if she denies them again, then we'll escalate this to the Supreme Court.
So is it fair to say that the road is, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but the road's still a long way to go?
Absolutely. There is absolutely a light at the end of the tunnel. I think the quote that you mentioned there off the top, that people
right.
are beginning to wake up to realize this, is true, that it's hard to deny what the clinical evidence, what the science is showing, as well as the human side. So we're seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. It takes a long time, but we are getting there.
Has Health Canada or the government said why they're so adverse to using these drugs? I mean, there's plenty of prescription drugs out there that are of concern, and I'm thinking of opioids and those kind of things.
Yeah, essentially what we hear from Health Canada is that there's no approved use. So right. I think this boils down to a mix of like outdated caution, legal rigidity, and just like institutional government inertia, essentially. Like, we hear that there's not enough evidence for safety and efficacy. They often cite the lack of large-scale phase 3 trials as a justification. But what Therapsil started in doing, and what we're still doing, is advocating for patients at end of life. So patients who have like terminal cancer, for example. And to point out that there's not enough evidence for safety and efficacy for a mushroom for someone with terminal cancer is, to me, it doesn't make much sense. Imagine you have someone you love has terminal cancer, they've tried everything, and then they learn that psilocybin therapy could help with their depression, their anxiety about dying. But then to access it legally, they have to try and fail multiple medications. Sometimes they have to try electroconvulsive therapy, submit deeply personal medical information to the government, and wait for months for approval. This isn't compassion. So meanwhile, people can buy mushrooms illegally, very easily, from unregulated stores. So that's the problem we're seeing. I don't really know why it's taking so long. Government takes a long time for a lot of things, but real people are paying the price here, and they're our most vulnerable patients.
Are there, or is there any jurisdictions around the world that have gone down this road and are actively using magic mushrooms? Yes.
Several jurisdictions around the world have taken steps to regulate this, really leaving us behind. The country of Australia, as of July 2023, became the first country to reschedule psilocybin and MDMA for medical use. You can go to Oregon in the United States. You can go to Colorado to access these things legally. Just a few weeks ago, New Zealand created legal mechanisms to prescribe psilocybin for specific patients. You can go to Jamaica, where psilocybin is not scheduled. There's tons of legal retreat centers there. You can go to Mexico. Canada is really falling behind on this, and many Canadians are flying abroad to other countries, or even in the States, to get access to the care they can't get here. And we have the expertise. We have the public support, as I mentioned, and now another court ruling in favor of access. So the one thing we're missing, it seems to me, is that federal leadership. It's someone who's willing to align with science, align with compassionate access, do the right thing. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We can follow in the steps that other places have already taken.
John, I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
That is John Gilchrist, the Director of Communications for Therapsil, advocating for psychedelics and treatment uses that they may include. We're going to stop and take a break here on the program. Blake is going to update us on what's going on in the news. And on the other side of it, our weekly conversation with our good friend from Summa Strategies and Abacus Data. That's Tim Powers. Lots to talk to Tim about. Mark Carney's on vacation this week, not telling anybody where he is. Got his feet up on the dining room table, and he's watching Donald Trump start handing out letters of tariff. That and a whole bunch more. Tim Powers will be your guest when we come back. And listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. Oh, I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes. Happy Friday vibes all around each and every one of you. I know it's rainy and gross out there right now, but that's going to end, and we're going to look at sunshine and some reasonable temperatures this weekend so we can get out and enjoy them. Boy, there is never a shortage of things to talk about with our next guest, is there? You see him every week on TV, smiling at the cameras, and you hear him here on the Todd Veinotte Show on Fridays at 10:30, and that, of course, is our good friend from Summa Strategies and Abacus Data. That is Tim Powers. Tim, how are you, my friend?
Well, Dan, I'm very worried because the Americans are mad at us up here because too much smoke.
Well, what is that?
Going their way.
Right?
I mean, I feel we're such bad people, Dan. And it's all these arsonists running around in the woods lighting these fires.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to stop.
Can you do something about the smoke? Because, you're ruining my summer.
Sorry, man. I'm sorry, but all joking aside, sorry to start on this, but I'm still wound up about this. Here are these 6 Republican congressmen from, I think, Minnesota and Wisconsin.
Right.
Do you guys you've been in the media for a long time.
Yes, sir.
Some politicians are smart enough to think about what I say today may be great for something, but in 10 years from now or even 10 days from now, people will think I was a bit of an idiot.
Right?
None of that worry. None of that worry with these guys.
And then the next time that the upstate of Minnesota is on fire, which is essentially on the Ontario border, in the lovely area of the boundary waters in Quetico, is on fire, and they start looking north for help, maybe not.
Well, just arrest the arsonists who were clearly Canadian who started the fires. So there you go.
Anyway.
Oh, my God.
I mentioned job numbers are up. Carney is a terrible pancake flipper. And the hurricane that is Donald Trump and his tariff pen is at it again. It's never a shortage to talk about, is there, Tim?
Well, start with the simple one, the pancakes. I don't know about you, but I have played around flipping a pancake in the kitchen. I would not want to do it with the cameras on. But Carney, his pancakes splattered, and he handled it well, but Polyev didn't let that go, and there was a little pancake tete-a-tete. But there you have it. You can't mess up your pancakes or your Stetsons or anything else in Calgary. I just want them to come to Newfoundland and get screeched in, and see how well they kiss the cod. Now
there you
that
go.
is an art.
Could you see Mark Carney? No, I don't even want to think about that. Now there was some criticism leveled at the Prime Minister this week, rightly or wrongly, that he is taking some vacation, which we're all entitled to. In fact, I am taking some in about 2 hours. And he didn't tell anybody where he was going. Should we know where the Prime Minister's on vacation?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think the world is a place now where it is a bit more dangerous, even if you're the Canadian Prime Minister. So I'm fine with them not revealing all of that. And the truth is, you were talking about Tim Houston earlier, all of these leaders may physically be removing themselves from the location where they mostly work, but these guys are still working. I mean, you think Carney's not been on the phone dealing with whatever, Trump's daily rants on tariffs and checking in with his negotiators. So keep it quiet. It's better for security at the moment.
So, Tim, here's my thoughts on the latest tariff salvo, and you can use this on the next time you're on TV if you want to, and you don't even have to give me credit.
Do you want me to trademark it, Dan? I don't need to trademark it?
No. You can be free to use this one. But is it now that President Trump got a little bit of inroads with Mark Carney with the digital services tax and got him to change his mind on that and open that door just that crack, right? Now Donald Trump is kicking that door open with these 35% tariffs. Is this tactic paramount or tantamount to what parents are doing right now when they're driving to Nova Scotia in their car and they're telling their kids, "Hey, we're turning this car around right now if you don't do what I tell you." Is that what it is?
It's not bad. I like that one, Dan, because I was about to say dad, because he could be here a dad or a mom actually saying that.
Right.
And Trump is one theory that I've heard today that maybe actually has some teeth to it. We might be getting this now because there's some aspects of a negotiation that are going on, because apparently there is one going on, and this is Trump kind of, trying to destabilize whatever gains or threats Canada are making. So who knows? But I mean, it's just like, how many times can you cry wolf?
Right.
I guess in Trump's case, you can just constantly shriek.
The whole taco theory, right? The Trump always chickens out theory that the markets are using. Do you think the Canadian government keeps that in the back of their mind, or do they have to kind of think and take all of this stuff serious that, now maybe this is the one, right?
I think they have. Again, we don't know what they're seeing, right? They're keeping their cards close to their chest. The only thing we do see is they subtly now respond to Trump. They're not running out every time there's something and man the battle stations. And I know that's irritating to some people, because we all want to punch Donald Trump in the head, I think. And there's part of us that would like the Carney elbows up mantra to be in full force, and every time he speaks, we're back slamming him. But, Trump howls and Canada scowls, but quietly works away at something. We won't know how good or bad Canada's approach to all this has been until, there's either some kind of arrangement, or this continues on and Canada continues to get hit, and then Carney takes a hit because we've not been able to find a resolution.
Heard an interesting bunch of data. I think it was on the Rob Snow show yesterday that some polling is being done on Mr. Carney now that he's fully seated in the job, and some companies are giving him a rather large lead in double digits, and I think it was Abacus that has that lead a little bit tighter. Why do you think there's such disparities? Is it just summertime and people really don't care about filling out surveys?
Part of it is the methodology, but Nanos, respected firm. I talked to Nick yesterday. They have the parties with a bigger lead where there is common data, a common plotting of data, is around the perception of who's up and who's down as leaders. And Carney's been consistent in ours, and Nanos and Angus Reid's, and everybody's is having a very strong lead in personal numbers over Poilievre. The party stuff, we have them statistically tied, they are statistically tied. And that may just be a case of a bit of lingering stuff from the election. But when you drill down into Carney versus Poilievre, all the polls are consistent. And Pierre Poilievre has struggled a little bit with his negatives even before Mark Carney, when Justin Trudeau was there. But that's probably the bigger concern for the Conservatives than the party numbers.
Earlier this week, and I'm paraphrasing, Mr. Poilievre said that the election loss that he suffered here this year was not it wasn't a loss, it was a delay. Do you think that plays well? And the fashion advice to him that now that he's campaigning in very rural Alberta with the plaid shirts and the black T-shirts and the sunglasses. I lived in that riding for some time when I was in the military, and CFB Wainwright is right there, and
is Wainwright there?
It is, and it's very very it's prototypical rural Alberta. That's all I'll say. And I would suggest that, having a guy from Ontario who's been a career politician standing up in a plaid shirt and a shirt open and his cowboy hat on, it just doesn't win any votes. It just doesn't.
I had one of the independent candidates that's running against him on the other day, and she made similar statements. She was former military, and said the challenge he is having there is he is being tagged as a bit of a come from away. And that he's not attuned to the local issues. I mean, he's still going to win that riding. I'd be shocked if he didn't.
Right.
But to your earlier question about talking about it being a delay, I don't think that's the wisest strategy. I think you have to say, look, we did okay, but we still lost.
Right.
Why is he saying it's a delay? I think that's because there are certain people who are very supportive of him who feel that way, so he's speaking to that audience because he's got to win this by-election, and then he's got to win the Conservative Leadership Review in January. And I'm sure you saw and your listeners read, few stories from well-known conservative columnists saying it's not all going to be a walk in the park. So that may be why there's some of the delay phrasing that's out there.
And that was my next question with that leadership review coming up in January. It's not going to be a coronation, is it?
If it were today, he'd win, and he'd win well. But as you know, the longer people have time to fester on things and feel frustrated, and they don't feel that there's been an outreach, it makes it a bit more difficult. As I say, I would still put odds on him winning, but is it like a Joe Clark win that sees the leader step back? And you and I are probably the only ones old enough to remember that.
Dating ourselves for sure.
Know what I'm talking about here, but it's not going to be you show up and you leave with 95% of the vote. That is not what it's looking like right now.
Tim, I don't know if you've been following the story here as of the last couple of weeks, but there's been a lot of debate in Nova Scotia about strong mayor powers, and we know that we've seen that doled out in Ontario. And now they're talking about giving those powers here to the mayor of HRM. Do you think that kind of, for lack of a better term, executive power will weigh or play well in Atlantic Canada as opposed to Ontario?
Well, it didn't play well here.
Right.
As you know, there was a lot of pushback towards it. I don't think it will because, again, I think what we expect in Atlantic Canada is all of the personalities that come to the table in the council chambers to figure it out. And we want them to do that. That's why we elect them. And so, it's difficult, and sometimes it makes things slower, but that's what people want. I don't imagine people are going to like the strong mayor powers.
Spending the weekend in Ontario, or are you coming home?
I was home in Newfoundland last weekend for an Irish wake. After that, Dan, I have to wake myself and rest.
Got to calm things down a bit.
Listen, it was a wonderful Irish gentleman,
right.
And let me say, I lived his life in one night. So I need a quiet weekend.
Tim, is always my friend, a pleasure.
Take care, buddy. Bye.
That is Tim Powers from Summa Strategies and Abacus Data. There's not ever a shortage of things to talk about when it comes to federal politics, is there? We're going to stop. We're going to take another break. And when we come back, we're going to have a conversation with one of the people that lives in Nova Scotia that I most enjoy having a discussion with. And that is Hope Swinimer from Hope from Wildlife. You're listening to The Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrand. We're back in minutes. All right, welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. Before we get to our next guest, a little bit of breaking news to pass along to you here. Nova Scotia Power is reporting a rather large outage at this hour in the Bedford and Lower Sackville and Waverley area. So the area that's showing on the Nova Scotia Power outage map stretches from almost DeWolf Park in Bedford north to Windsor Junction, to the west to Lower Sackville, and to the east in Waverley. So that sort of square area affecting about just under 16,000 people. And Nova Scotia Power says it's transmission interruption. Thank you, Captain Obvious. Yeah, the power's out, and is estimating the restoration time at 12:30. Well, I'm in a mood today. Vanessa's giving me the look, so I better be careful. Anyway, so again, from DeWolf Park to Windsor Junction, from Lower Sackville to Waverley, and all points in between, there is a power outage. Nova Scotia Power says that they're expecting to have it returned by 12:30. My experience is that they will likely get that done before then, but for those of you that are on battery power listening to the show, thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's always fun to talk to our next guest. It's always fun to check in with what's going on at that wonderful facility here in Nova Scotia. And who I'm speaking of course, is Hope Swinimer and Hope for Wildlife. Hope, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Dan?
How are things up in there in Seaforth? Are you having the rain today?
It's overcast, but not raining, so
right.
That's great. Yeah.
Things are busy at the rescue, are they?
Oh, it's our crazy time of year. Starting in May, right through to the end of August, we're incredibly busy. We have close to 1,000 patients in right now.
1,000? Wow.
Yeah.
And that ranges from what we're going to talk about, from raccoons to eagles to all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, everything you can imagine. There's so much happening in nature, and this time of year with all the babies and the fledglings and the baby fawns and the snowshoe hares, the porcupine babies, everything. And I think we've got over almost close to 200 different species have arrived just this year alone.
Wow. Holy smokes. It is the cutest time of the year, too, isn't it? Those babies are cute.
Yeah, some of our Facebook posts are pretty cute.
Yeah, no doubt. So we reached out to Hope because we saw a story that, and I know that many people that are listening to us, Hope, can relate that there are a lot of raccoons out, and with the babies there are even more. But you're getting a lot of them up there at the rescue.
Yeah, I'd say the numbers have definitely increased for all different kinds of reasons, but we are seeing even more in the green bins this year for sure.
Now, when you take these animals in, and maybe people don't know what Hope for Wildlife does, they're not there forever. You rehabilitate them, and then you're eventually going to release them, right?
Absolutely. Everything goes back to the wild. And some people think we're like a pest control company where we relocate an animal. We don't do that. We just deal with injured and orphaned wildlife. But we have a lot of knowledge in what to do in certain situations. So if you're having an issue with a groundhog or a raccoon in your attic, that kind of thing, do give us a call because we're able to talk you through that, or check our website. We've got some really good tips on how to handle conflicts with nature. So our job is kind of to get as few animals in as possible, by reducing the number of conflicts between people and nature.
My goodness, having a raccoon in the attic is just terrifying to me.
That's probably the number one reason we get baby raccoons in. The raccoons are up in someone's attic. They trap the mother out and relocate her. And then a few days later, they hear the babies crying up in the attic. So we have tips on how to avoid that from happening from, at the very beginning of the year, make sure there are no access points. But number two is, try and get the mom to go on her own accord by making her habitat really uncomfortable. She picks your attic because it's dark and quiet, put a radio and some lights up there, and she will probably move the family unit along because she doesn't like that kind of environment.
Justin Bieber's got a new album out today. That might get her out of there quickly.
It might do the trick.
You mentioned you have well over
talk shows work well too.
Well, I'm going to tell you a funny story, Hope, and it's not from here. It was in a station I worked with in Ontario, and they had a long-time radio talk show host, and the farmers would tell me that they would put the talk show on in the barn, and the cows would produce more milk.
Oh, I love that. That's so neat.
So there's a couple of good reasons why we have talk radio, and that's one of them. We like to keep the milk population high.
Cool.
Hope, you mentioned that you have a lot of animals, 1,000 animals up there. You're good for space. Are you running out of space? Do you need any help?
No, we need help. We've got the space to accommodate them. We just need the working hands. So anybody interested in volunteering, go to our website and just click on Join Us, and we could sure use the help, especially this time of year where some of the girls that work 5 days a week are getting pretty tired, and they could use a pair of helping hands just cleaning or working in their laundry room, doing dishes, raking, anything and everything. There's always a job here, and you don't need a lot of training. We can teach you on what you need to do.
Hope, if somebody comes across a small critter, a baby critter, and they think they're abandoned, that sometimes isn't the case, right? Mom's nearby?
Many times it's not the case. Like everything from a fawn, the white-tailed deer moms leave their babies alone for the first 3 weeks of life. And they usually only go in to feed that baby like twice a day at dawn and dusk. The rest of the time they leave the little fawn tucked ever so quietly in a space. So if you see that, do give us a call if you have any questions, but that behavior is perfectly normal. The same as another thing that's happening right now is all the birds are fledging from the nest. So that just means they often will go from the nest to the ground, spend a few days on the ground growing in their flight feathers and their tail feathers, and then learning to fly from the ground up. So those young birds on the ground, it's pretty normal unless you see a droopy wing or a bone or flies buzzing around, or if the bird's kind of falling overhead over heels kind of thing. So, common sense things, but a lot of people have gotten out of touch with how nature works. So we feel it's our responsibility and part of our job to go over these things with people. So if they have a question, we're more than happy to talk them through it.
Have a family of geese that live in the pond behind my house, and they're using our parking lot at my building as a test landing strip, teaching them how to fly. It's actually quite funny to watch.
They're pretty awkward when they're learning.
Right. But they'll get there. And it takes them a week and they're usually gone.
Yeah, perfect. Exactly.
Hope, if we want to help, if we want to volunteer, if we want to donate, maybe, how do we do that?
So the best way is go to our website, hopeforwildlife.net, and, there's a place to donate there. You can support us in so many ways through a cash donation. You can give right online, or you can come out and give us a helping hand, or you can even join our dispatch team. We have a number of, great volunteers from all over Nova Scotia that pick up injured wildlife and bring it to one of our triage centers. We have one in Cape Breton, we have one in the Valley, we have one on the South Shore, and we have, of course, the big one here at HRM. So there's lots of things to do, lots of helping hands needed.
Hope, I want to just say for everybody that's out there listening, thank you for what you do, and keep up the fantastic work.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks to everybody that helps out.
That is Hope Swinimer. Hope for Wildlife is the facility, and if you've got a few minutes, that'd be a pretty fun place to work, wouldn't it? I know it's not just fun. There's work. It's busy, I'll say, but there's a lot of really cute animals there, isn't there? We are going to stop. Blake is going to update us here on what's going on in the news, and on the other side of it, we're going to throw open the telephone lines. In fact, we're going to do that right now. The numbers are 902-405-6000. That's 902-405-6000. 1-877-801-8255. The open hour after the news. Welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrand filling in for Todd. It is time now for the open hour. The lines are open. 902-405-6000. That's 1-877-801-8255. 902-405-6000. 1-877-801-8255. It's a chance for you to talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. A couple of things that have caught my attention over the last couple of days that maybe you would like to comment on, or maybe you'd like to carry on the debate about. I've been watching the debate the last week or so about the strong mayor powers, and by extension, Bill 24. Now, you forgot about that one, didn't you? Houston government has given itself the power to override municipal decisions regarding things like infrastructure and can force municipalities to cover the cost. Now, think about that for a minute. Now we're hearing that the Houston government wants to grant Andy Fillmore similar powers, strong mayor powers, they're called. It's essentially, and I don't want to argue semantics with you, but it's essentially a veto on a council decision. The mayor would have the ability to get stuff done or do things outside of having to get a majority of council to align with him, so to speak. So my question is what's changed? Like, what has changed in 2025? We saw mayors Savage and Kelly and Fitzgerald, and over in Dartmouth, Gloria McCluskey. They all managed to get stuff done without having executive power. Kind of smells like that, doesn't it? Doesn't it feel like if we give the premier, well, the premier's already got, there's not much we can do about it, but if we give the mayor this strong mayor, he can essentially sign, and like we see on TV just about daily, an executive order saying this is what we're doing. Now, regardless of where you fall on the bike lane issue, we've just had a bike lane election, municipal election, right? I could speak because I sat here and we had countless numbers of candidates on the program in the run up to that election, and they were asked. Every one of them asked where they stood on the issue, where they stood on the bike lane issue, and we, as the electorate, as the constituent, voted. Right? Did we not? Now it's up to us to hold our council to account, and that's how it works. That's the cornerstone of democracy, right? Not to have Premier Houston, or by extension Mayor Fillmore, swing a big hammer and circumvent the will of a duly elected council. We might like what they have decided. And listening to the Todd Veinotte Show of the last few weeks, there are many of us out there that haven't been real happy with the decisions that they've been making, particularly when it comes to the bike lane issue. But they're a duly elected council. Now, I know I say this a lot, but when I found out I was hosting the show today, I walked into the studio this morning and I walked right by a plaque that's hangs outside the door here that we put up to honor the late Rick Howe, who used to occupy this studio. In fact, the studio is named after him. And I thought to myself, boy, I wonder what Rick Howe would think about all of this. Right? Rick was one of his true talents was that he would stand up for the little guy, the little person, right? And it just feels like this is massive and bigger than massive overreach. I wonder what Premier Houston would think if the federal government passed a piece of legislation and then they just came down to him and said, Premier Houston, we don't like the new extension that you build there at Sackville. We don't think that the people like it. So you have to take it out and pay to take it out by my decree, says the Prime Minister. I wonder how long it would take for the Premier to be standing in front of cameras and be absolutely livid, and rightfully so. So what's the difference? What's the difference between that and having this Bill 24 and these strong mayor powers that the Premier, who's now weighed in yesterday on the Moore Street debate, saying that there's a disconnect between what the people want and what the council is doing, and just about said that he was going to fix that. What's the difference? Premier Houston, all due respect to you, sir, you're outside your lane. Remember what Rick used to say? If you're not outraged, you're not paying attention. And I don't think in this case that there have been truer words that have been spoken. That's the end of my tirade. 902-405-6000, 902-405-6000. Let's get to the phones. Stephen, how are you?
Good.
What's on your mind?
We have MPs, we have a premier.
Right.
Why do we need these councillors and the mayor? We don't need these people. I mean, they don't listen to us anyway. We're just duplicating things. So why don't we let the MPs and the premier run the city? We can save a bunch of money. I mean, the reason why we had councillors and the mayor before was because there was no transportation. So they went out and visited everybody. But they don't visit people anymore. They just sit in their office and they don't pay attention to anybody. So why don't we just get rid of them?
So, Stephen, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, Stephen. I'm going to say that you suggest that we should just fire the mayor and council and let the province run the place.
That's right. That's what we should do right away. We should start here in Nova Scotia, do right across Canada. We'd save billions of dollars.
Well, it's your opinion. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I appreciate it.
Well, that's my opinion.
Absolutely. I agree with it. There you go.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
902-405-6000. That's 902-405-6000. Boy, have the province look after all municipal affairs. So outside of HRM, I'm hoping that you're listening. How would you like that? Because where all the votes are in HRM. And do you think that Antigonish or, I don't know, Wolfville or Kentville or Yarmouth are going to get any kind of consideration if the province ran the municipalities? Wow. Anyway, all opinions are welcome here on the Todd Veinotte Show. 902-405-6000. That's 902-405-6000. Let's go to Don. Don, how are we?
Good morning, young man. How are you?
Young man, I love it when you call me that, man. I really do. It makes me feel good.
You're not going to feel good with that after I tell you what I'm thinking.
Okay, what are you thinking?
No, you do a great job filling in for him.
Thank you.
And Vanessa, she's the nail on the wall. You know what I mean.
Absolutely. Without her, this place doesn't run. I can tell you that from experience.
But you two, you and Todd, oh, gosh, I say you're the pitcher in the wall, all right?
Fair enough.
Now, here's the thing. People, think about this.
Okay.
I'm just saying the state's senators and they make less, way less than what you think they are. Even the MPs here, why is the mayor from way back right now to makes more than the premier here is for your annual wage. He makes close to $200,000 or more.
Yep.
It doesn't matter who's in there. I'm just saying the mayor. And the premier makes way less. And I think the governor general said it doesn't matter who's in there. They sit down there. They just have tea and coffee and a rose garden, and they make $100,000 to $200,000 a year. And all that. That's what people got to look at too. Really save money. Now, as far as yes, I believe that I'm not a supporter of. I didn't support the mayor now or before, but I do think that they should override the council, because the council at the last some of them don't even know what they're doing. I don't think they do really. I called up one councillor. I don't want to say the name.
Sure.
And I said, I have a situation down here, everybody down in this area here. Can you do something? Well, call 311.
Yep.
I said, do your job in a nice way, drive it around, and why should I have to call up all the time, or anybody else? And I said, on sightly premises, right? That's what we vote you people for. If you can't drive around, ask the people, knock on the door, or make a phone call, like you said, make a phone call. But just if you see something, call in yourself. Why is it always up to us people to do it? But get your GD act together and get working for your $90,000, $100,000 a year, really. And some people, and some of them got other jobs than that, right? Which is good for them, I guess. But get your act together. You know what? Another thing I got to tell you: Canada Games up there in the swimming pool, right?
Yep.
Do you ever go up there lately?
I haven't been up there. Oh, I mean, I live in Clayton Park, so I'm there quite frequently, but I'm not sure what you're referring to.
It's a unsightly mess up there. No lawn cut, no grass pole. Everything's up around. It's a beautiful place. The workers up there are good and all, but it's an unsightly place to look at, and nothing's kept up there, the premises. And why should us people out here do that? The councillor, the engineering, and maintenance should be going around and looking at this, and we shouldn't be having to tell. That's their job, right? That's their job. Preventive maintenance, I'm trying to say to you. That's what I used to do in my other job, too, way before years gone by. You're preventive maintenance. You don't let the problem come in. You prevent it before you do it. I wouldn't want to see some of them elected officials on a fishing boat. Because you know what? They'd be calling not 911. They'd call search and rescue all the time. I'm saying they'd be sinking all the time. Some of them don't. You know, I've got to be honest with you. Some of them don't have a clue. Really, they don't have a clue. And how they got elected, I do not know. I'm not the brightest guy. You know that. Todd will tell you that. But you know what? I do know a little bit about prevent. And the guy on I'm not calling him that. The gentleman who was on the phone yesterday or before, he was on there twice. He must have it all written down on a paper, what he says all the time, because he's talking about driving a bike downtown on Moore Street and all that. There's people driving trucks and deliveries and all that, ambulances, and all that. Let them get through there. If a death ever happens, and you got a bicycle lanes, over that there, and one lane hit traffic, they don't know how they go around. One pair makes it's a nightmare sometimes getting around them.
Don, really, I appreciate you. Have a great weekend, sir.
Thank you.
902-405-6000, 902-405-6000, the open hour after the break. All right, welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. It is the Friday free-for-all open hour. The lines are open, 902-405-6000. That's 902-405-6000, or toll-free, 1-877-801-8255. To the phones, we welcome Ian to the program. Ian, how are you?
I'm doing great, and how are you doing?
I'm good. It's Friday, man.
Yeah, Friday, and you got some time off next week. Good
I
for
do.
you.
I'm going to be like Mark Carney, not tell anybody where I went.
Excellent. It's been a long time since I called this show, Dan.
Oh, cool. Well, I appreciate you calling.
I think, I'm calling partly because you're hosting, but mostly because of this overreach, as you put it, by the mayor.
Right.
I don't understand why the premier thinks that he and the mayor know better than the 16 councillors that we elected in due course. What was it, last year?
Not even last year. It was only like 6 months ago, right?
With a mandate, Dan. With a mandate. These people are the same people who are put in the bike lanes over the last several years, and for some reason, the bike lane seems to motivate people in such a negative way. I don't understand the hatred to bike lanes.
My thought is, and I think I articulated it off the top of the open hour, is it doesn't matter where you fall on the bike lane issue, right? We had a bike lane election like that. I asked every councillor or every council candidate that called this program where you are on the bike lanes, and people made their choice, right?
Exactly.
Now, if the premier doesn't like Morris Street being one way, well, you call your councillor, but he doesn't live here, so don't. He's way overreaching here. He's out of bounds.
He's doing the same thing, though, that the right-wing premier in Ontario has already done by tearing up lanes, and that Danielle Smith is now threatening to do in Calgary. The same thing. She wants to take out the bike lanes. I don't understand this business with the bike lanes, Dan. But let me tell you what I want you to ask. I want you to answer me this question.
Sure.
If the legislation for a strong mayor had come in during the tenure of Mike Savage, when Gloria McCluskey was a councillor, what do you suppose she would have had to say about it?
Well, I'll tell you what, Ian, I don't want to put words into Gloria's mouth, but I will bet you she's listening right now, and if she is, she'll probably give us a call, and she can probably tell us all what she would say.
She'll lie about it.
No, hey, whoa.
Her screams.
Gloria, Ian, I'm not going to cut you off, Ian, but Gloria will tell the truth. I will guarantee you she will not lie.
Do you think that Wayne Mason is controlling Sam Austin?
No.
That's what she said yesterday.
Well,
on this show.
That was her opinion. I don't know if you don't agree with it, doesn't mean she's lying.
It's conspiracy theory to suggest that, Dan.
Well, she was the mayor of Dartmouth, so there you are.
You ask her what she would think. You ask her what she would think of Mike Savage having the strong mayor powers that she proposes for our current mayor.
If she calls in the next 40 minutes, I will do just that.
I'll hold you to it.
All right, man. Appreciate it. 902-405-6000. It's 902-405-6000. And it's probably the day that she's not going to listen, so I'm going to look like I'm hiding it. But that's not what I'm doing. Gloria, if you're out there, give us a call. I'm curious your thoughts as a former mayor of Dartmouth on strong mayors. 902-405-6000 is the number. Where are we going to go next? Let us go to one of the two Dougs. Doug, how are you?
Just great. How are you?
I am terrific. What's on your mind?
Well, just thought I listened in yesterday about the police officer that didn't show up for the trial of the hockey player.
Right. Yep.
And he got away.
Yep.
I just thought I'd put my little view in. I couldn't get in yesterday. Back in the day, I've been driving for over 60 years. Back in the day, I worked with a bunch of contractors, and it was the thing back then that it was kind of a running joke. Half of the guys I know knew the police guys. There wasn't that many around at the time.
Right.
Many a time they got loaded into a taxi or driven home by a cruiser or whatever when they should have been in the drunk tank and charged with drunk driving. But the buddies, the old buddy system type of thing, right? It was rampant then. I don't think it is so much now, and I'm not trying to say that it is. But I can also say that a lot of times the cops write tickets and do things and don't show up just for no reason other than they probably don't want to. I personally, as I say, drove a long time. I went about 40 years with one speeding ticket. Then I had a bad run about 12 years ago. I got 4 tickets within a year and a half, and I got none since. So just one of those things hit the speed traps real good. Anyway, a couple of years earlier, my late wife, had a speeding ticket, and a friend of hers got one too. She went and paid her ticket. Her friend went to court. The cop didn't show up, and he got off. So I swore that if I ever got a speeding ticket, that's what I was going to do. Long and the short of it is, I probably would have been walking quite a while if it hadn't been for the fact that two of the times I went to court, the police didn't show up. I went and got the case dismissed just because the cops didn't show up. So that saved my behind. So if they had showed up and done their job, I would have been out on walking, but they don't always do their job.
Doug, appreciate the call, sir.
No problem.
902-405-6000. Ask and thou shall receive. Please welcome to the program former Dartmouth mayor who didn't have strong mayor powers, but I'll bet you got work done, and that's Gloria McCluskey. Gloria, how are you?
Hi, Dan. Here I am, ready to roll.
There you go. So let me ask you this question, and I don't know if Todd did yesterday, and if he did, forgive me, please, but how was it that you were able to function as a mayor without having executive power?
we worked together. I had a good council. We worked together. We didn't always agree. There was a point in time when I had a tie. Broke the tie, and we got the first Habitat for Humanity house in Nova Scotia in Dartmouth. The council didn't want it. The councillor didn't want it on that street, even though when it got there, the residents chipped in and helped. I had to cast the deciding vote, and I couldn't wait to say yes. And one councillor said, "You'll pay for this." I marched right down to his desk. You know, I had a good council. We got along. We worked well, and we got things done.
So, Gloria, we're up against the break here. So let me ask you this very quickly. The premier yesterday.
Can I wait until after the break?
You know what? Let's do that, okay? I'm going to put you on hold, and because I've got a bunch of questions, and I think that you're probably well-equipped to answer them,
and I will answer them truthfully.
There you have it, right from Gloria's mouth. We're going to put you on hold, Gloria, and we're going to stop down and take a break. Gloria McCluskey and the Open Hour continuing on the other side. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrand. We're back in minutes. Welcome back. This is the Friday Free-for-All on the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrand. The telephone lines are open, 902-405-6000. That's 902-405-6000, or the toll-free number, 1-877 801-825, 801-825. I don't say it that often. 801-8255. Watched the debate yesterday on Strong Mayor before council. Today, we listened to caller Ian, and he wondered what Gloria McCluskey's take would have been if it was before council when Lieutenant Governor Mike Savage was the mayor of the city, and she sat on council. So, Gloria, who's on the line with us now, what would you have said?
If I was that pathetic as this council is, and I didn't listen to the residents, I would deserve the treatment that this council needs. I would say the mayor needs strong powers. When you have a council who has their own personal agenda, which I never had, I stayed nonpartisan all the years I was on council. When you have a council who is not doing what they're being elected to do, thank God there is somebody who can step in and say, hey, it's time you started listening to the residents. That's where you get your big salary, that's where you get your pension, and that's where you get your medical costs.
Once we open that bottle and the genie gets out, though, Gloria, it's out, right? There's no putting it back in.
It's out, and it has to be out in this case, and that's because, Dan, we have a mayor. And I didn't vote for the mayor, but I called him after and said, I'll go out and prove yourself. And to me, he is proving himself. He's proving himself that changes need to be made fiscally, first of all. And we have to, the people in this municipality can no longer afford the taxes that keep increasing. And he's trying to make a change. Can you believe people voting to make Moore Street a one-way street with 2 bicycle lanes? Is that common sense? That's what this council lacks, common sense, except for 3 of the councillors who seem to know what's going on. So, listen, I want to make one statement,
sure.
Dan. I don't know how many people call in and watch. I watch every minute of those council meetings. I watch, and I can read the cards. I know what's going on. And for this caller to say, I said, you bet your life Way Mason is leading the choir, and Sam Austin is his puppet. And there is a rumor, I can't prove this, only she would be able to prove this. There is a rumor that Kathy O'Toole was seen on Argyle Street sitting down with Way Mason before she made her resignation. I'm not accusing her of that. I don't know. I heard the story. Only she can verify that.
So, Gloria, if Way Mason is the puppet master here, to what end? He was soundly defeated as mayor. What's the end game?
They're trying to break the mayor. They're trying to get him to leave. That's the end game. That's what it's all about. The vultures are there. And you know what's behind it all? It's the NDP party Becky Ken is NDP, Sam Austin's NDP, this Bright Light, this Laura White, and they're all NDP, and Way Mason is NDP. So Way Mason is like Polyev. He had it made until Fillmore came. He was a shoo-in, and so he thought. And what a disappointment. I can only say, thank God, that he didn't make it. Can you imagine the state? Dan, they don't know why they're there.
Gloria,
they're
I just want to get some more callers. I appreciate your time, and keep up the good work.
Thanks very much.
That is Gloria McCluskey, former mayor of Dartmouth, who says that there's a gigantic NDP conspiracy to overthrow the mayor. That's where the strong mayors legislation is coming to prevent. Like I said, don't necessarily agree with all the opinions on the program, but we're certainly here to listen to them. Let's carry on the conversation, and we welcome Doug to the program. Doug, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm well. What's on your mind?
Good. Well, I just agree with Gloria's comments for sure.
Okay.
Gloria's always bang on. Originally they allotted $20 million for bicycle lanes.
Yes.
That's gone.
Yeah, 17 I think has already been spent. Yep. And now there's another 80 some odd million. Yep.
Yeah, at that point in time, it should stop and be reevaluated. From what I see, I drive the city every day. My wife's in the hospital, so I'm going in every day. I see maybe half a dozen bikes on the roads. That doesn't justify $80 million out of $1.3 billion of tax dollars, does it?
There's a majority of council seems to think it does, Doug.
Well, unfortunately, the majority of council probably have never had a job.
Well, that's I don't think that's true. I think all of them have come from different fields. I don't think that there's anybody that's not worked.
I understand, but they're not sitting down looking at the budget overall when they're making these decisions. The other thing is the buses. There's supposed to be 58 buses.
60. The electric buses you're talking about?
Exactly.
Yep.
At $1.7 million apiece.
Yep.
Versus $300,000 for an elongated
diesel bus.
Regular bus.
Yep.
They don't work anywhere. The company that's producing these buses is in Quebec now. It was set up by Pierre Trudeau, not Pierre. Sorry, the other Trudeau, with grants of like $1.8 billion to move.
Doug, I'm not. I don't follow with you. Say they don't. I think I saw an electric bus go by my house yesterday. They're working right now.
Really? How many?
Well, I mean, there's one bus on my route. So you said they don't work. I don't understand where you're coming from.
Well, they came from the States. The bus companies that were in the States, one supplied to Alberta. They went bankrupt. The outfit that came to Quebec, they went bankrupt in the States, and they moved to Canada with $1.8 billion from Trudeau, and then forced the provinces to buy into it.
But you said they don't work, and I don't understand where you're coming from there.
Where do they work?
Well, they're working right now. I saw one yesterday.
I understand, but they in the wintertime they need heat. In the summertime they need electricity. They can only work certain routes. They can't do the extended buses.
Okay.
You know, when at the end of the day, when they're no longer around, you're not going to have a place to get parts for the buses. You know, it's like Alberta. The company that Alberta was in with, they've got a bunch of buses now. They can't get fixed.
All right, Doug. Appreciate it, sir. Going to move on to another call. 902-405-6000. I think I might have even just seen one here off of Roby Street during the break that was an electric bus. I get it and I understand where he's coming from. I understand that there are concerns and they're very expensive, but there are 60 of them on there now. To say that they don't work is disingenuous because they're literally one right there right now. So they are working. 902-405-6000 is the number, 902-405-6000. Where are we? Let's go up here to Chris. Chris, how are you?
Not bad. How are you doing?
Good, sir. What's on your mind today?
Oh, God. These conversations, we're getting tired of them, but we have to have them. I agree 100% with everything Gloria said. It's no conspiracy theory. Everything she said is absolutely correct.
But Chris, and I don't mean to interrupt you, sir. I really don't.
No, it's okay.
But if this is if Gloria's right and this is an NDP, to what end? Like, what's the end game? They can't. It's municipal politics. The parties can't run that. So, what's the benefit of this being this big orange conspiracy?
Well, I don't know what they think their end game is, but it appears to be bike lanes and wasting the taxpayers' money. They don't listen to the taxpayer, that's for sure. Now, you mentioned before, and I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't think most of them are smart enough to really have a final end game plan. They're just going with the flow right now. What seems to be the way to go. And you mentioned Way Mason. Yeah, he didn't make it as mayor, but guess what? We have another position coming up in the city. CAO's got to be filled.
Right. But, he was soundly
I'm not
defeated.
saying he'd be any good at that. I think he'd be absolutely terrible, but maybe he's got his eye on that too. Who knows?
Well, maybe, Chris, I mean, maybe you have your eye on it. No, you're pretty financially straightforward, so maybe you should be the CAO.
Well, I'll tell you right now, if I have no desire to be in politics or work for government.
Right.
I'm beyond that. But I can guarantee you one thing. As CAO, I could do just as good a job or a better job than what's been done. That's for sure. Anybody with business experience could. That's the big problem. None of these people have business experience. And in HRM, what's the biggest business? Pretty much is municipal government. You had made a comment about Houston being outside of his lane. Yep. I have to disagree with you on that.
Okay.
Because the province has jurisdiction over the municipalities, right or wrong?
Well, they do. I mean, they ultimately do. They have the charter, right? They have the Halifax charter, right?
Exactly. So he is not out of his lane for weighing in on this, in my opinion.
But I think that him saying that there's that and weighing and narrowing right down onto Morris Street is outside of his purview. That is not a provincial decision. That's a municipal decision, and he is way out of bounds.
Hey, well, you're entitled to your opinion. Right. I respect that.
Sure.
But I don't think I've still got to disagree with you, Dan, because if the provincial government, and Houston is head of the provincial government, he's the boss, and if he looks at municipal affairs and there's something, and they have jurisdiction over municipalities, if there's something going wrong, and this is wrong, there's no question. Nobody can sit there with good common sense and say this is the right thing to do, because it's not. He has every right in the world to enter into this fray and straighten it out if he can, veto it, or do something that the taxpayer is going to be benefited from. That's the problem with this council, one of the big problems. They will not listen to the taxpayer. We elected them. We pay their salaries, yet they have the personal agendas and hidden agendas that we don't know about. We can only surmise. And they refuse to listen to the taxpayer. We need a system, a mechanism, and I don't know what it would be, but we need a mechanism whereby we can get rid of councillors, and mayor for that matter, I suppose, too, who are not performing in the best interests, financial and otherwise, of the majority of taxpayers.
So like a recall kind of thing.
Exactly. We did not have a bike lane election. I disagree with you.
We did, Chris. You asked everybody. You were one of the people that called every day about it. So,
yes,
and we had.
Right.
I was in this chair when we had all the councillor candidates in here, and I asked every single one of them what their thoughts were on bike lanes, and I know you did too. So, how can that not be a bike lane election?
It's not a bike lane election in the truest sense of the word. It should have actually. And I had mentioned this. It actually should have been on the ballot. You should have been voting. When you cast your vote, you should have been able to tick off yes for bike lanes or no.
So you want a plebiscite on it is what you're saying.
Exactly. Why don't they? I mean, Dan, we debate this all the time. Right. You know my position very well, and everybody knows. I don't make my position hidden. And in order to get the real idea, anecdotal evidence that I don't see a bike or you don't see a bike or I see 1,000 bikes, that's not good enough, okay? we may validate that within ourselves, but it's not necessarily good enough. We need a plebiscite on this thing. Now, we're never going to have a referendum because a referendum
is binding.
Yeah. A plebiscite, at least I think that the plebiscite would give a more true idea as to how many people, percentage-wise, actually do support, and it would be the majority, in my opinion, the vast majority of people do not support bike lanes. If during the election we had been told, oh, by the way, you put us in, we're going to throw another $100 million at bike lanes, would people have voted for that? I don't think so. If we were told at budget time that we were way over budget on these bike lanes, and no, it's not going to be $25 million, it's going to be another $80 or $90 or $100 million times it's finished. We never heard any of this. None of this was discussed or brought forward until long after the election and long after the budget, yet these facts and figures were there for people to have access to, and we were not told about them. It was hidden from us until long after the fact, when we did not have a chance to push back on it. This is the worst, absolutely, it's turning into the worst city council that I can remember in my 45 years of living here in Halifax. This has got to be turning into the worst city council we have ever had, with the most incompetent bunch of people. They don't have the ability to financially manage $1.3 million budget. They don't have a friggin' clue. And one of your other callers said that none of them had worked. I don't really think he meant none of them had worked. Maybe what he meant was this is the best paying and the best benefits job they have ever had and probably could ever get with their qualifications.
Good debate, Chris. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, Dan.
Have a good day. 902-405-6000. Need to take a break? You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. We're back in minutes. Vanessa's yelling at me. It's Friday. It's normal. 902-405-6000. 902-405-6000. There's a few of you on the line. I'm going to try to get to as many of you as I can, and we will start with Jim. Jim, how are you?
How you doing, Dan?
Hey, Mr. Hoskins. Now, let me ask you this, Jim. I think I heard you yesterday, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you ran for...
I'm fired up on this one.
There you go. You see, you ran for mayor in the last election. Did you, or would you have, do you think, needed the strong mayor powers?
Yeah, it was in my platform. As a matter of fact, I was at the debates, all the debates except one. I mentioned it at the debates, prior to the debates, after the debates, sure. On the whatever. Oh, big time. And the reason is we can't stay in the past. As you might recall, Premier Houston also stepped in on the Point Pleasant Park issue.
Right.
And he made a comment that he disagreed with the council, or some councillors wanting to have encampments down there. So it's nothing new. The province does have the power to pull the lid on the municipality anytime they want. But I think he wants to work with the new mayor. The mayor, I think, is trying to change things up a bit. It's 2025. And I have only really one big reason. There's a few caveats within that, but one big reason I support it is this. When you run for mayor, and as you know, I went from down in Ecum right up to Halifax. Right. I mean, there's plenty of doors, and you work hard for it, and you're looking to get a mandate from the majority
sure.
of those people that you're speaking with.
Yeah.
The mayor did. Now, I think he got 42.8% of the vote of 16 candidates. That's 16 candidates. That's nothing to laugh at. I would say that's a mandate.
Sure.
But and a good mandate. So he's exercising that, and I think that some of the issues he wants to really zero in on are transit, which we've seemed to forget about forever, as far as the municipal goes, the transit.
Yep.
I'm not going to make it a bicycle, but bicycle lanes and all that did play a big part in the last election. There's no
I asked every candidate about it. Every single one I talked to.
It was a big deal, and it still is. But I think the overall reason why I support the support of the mayor is that when you win a majority of the vote, there's 16 councillors only win in their own constituency.
Yeah, and I heard you talk about it yesterday, and that he got 50,000 votes or whatever. So then, Jim, let me ask you this: why do we have councillors?
We have councillors to represent their individual
the wishes of their constituents, correct?
Well, that's what they're supposed to do, yeah.
Right.
And they still can. They still can under a
So
strong
then,
mayor.
why should the mayor be able to override that?
Well, I don't know what the actual policy would be with the mayor, but here's the way I look at it. The mayor should be more, when you think about it, the mayor gets the majority of vote of the residents of HRM. So when he goes to a council meeting, he should not be the same when it comes to a council with one constituency.
But again, I asked the question, why should he be able to override what 17 other councillors have listened to their constituents about? And I get it. I know that people will say, well, they're not listening to the constituency, but they're duly elected, right?
Yeah, well, they can still do it, Dan, because here's how I suggested when I ran for mayor that it would work. The mayor would have a certain amount of staff, okay? He would present a budget to council. So Mayor Fillmore, for example, would bring in a budget for transit or whatever it might be, or transportation in the city or building permits or whatever. His budget would include a lot of things that he would put forward to the council on the table.
Right.
And as far as I remember, some strong mayors, they would still have to have a vote.
Right.
But it would be his budget, okay, based on what he had in his platform.
Right.
In other words, you can't run for mayor and say, here's my platform, Dan, when I bang on your door. Here's what I believe in, Dan.
You haven't answered.
And you say, okay, Jim, I believe in you.
Jim,
I want you to
you
go
haven't
for
answered
this.
my question, though. Why should the mayor be able to override what 16 other councillors say is the way that their constituents are saying?
It's a very simple answer. Because he's the mayor with the majority vote of citizens. He has the bigger vote. It's that simple.
So then I go back to what I said earlier. Why do we have regional? Why would we have councillors then? If the mayor is voted by everybody, should we get rid of the districts and have just councillors at large, and then everybody's in the same boat?
Who knows? That might work too. I'm just talking about why this mayor has no powers in the present setup, because he gets elected by the majority of people for a platform, and he can't get it put forward because he keeps getting voted down by the councillors. And is that really practical when you have the full support, a big mandate from the general population? It doesn't make sense. I'm just there to chair the meeting.
Should be a leader, right? A mayor should be a leader, and is being the big hammer the leader, or is it building consensus among the council?
You're not a leader. You're not a leader if you don't have a vote. You're not a leader.
Yeah, but you get to your argument, Jim, is that he got the most votes from HRM constituents because he's voted on by everybody, correct?
16 other constituents. He got the most votes.
He's the figurehead for the city, the mayor. So
he's not a figurehead.
Well, what is he?
He's the leader of the city. He's the mayor.
Well, exactly.
So
carrying the biggest hammer makes you the leader.
No, you don't have to have a big hammer.
Well, what's strong mayor then?
Okay. You have, I won't name names of councillors because I don't know if there's any conspiracy. I'm not getting into that.
Sure.
But let's say Councillor Hoskins. I'll use my name instead of using somebody else.
Absolutely.
Councillor Hoskins represents Spryfield. That's all I represent.
Right.
They're supposed to go into council and then look at what the mandate is for the whole HRM. So they step outside their constituency and then would give their subjective opinion on what they think should be a bigger deal with the city.
But then, Jim,
the mayor, he doesn't have a mandate to do that. The individual councillor.
So
the mayor does.
Using your analogy, then Mayor Allstrand says, "I want to build a waste reduction facility in downtown Spryfield, and I have strong mayor powers. So whatever, I'm doing it because I can."
So you put it to council.
No, strong mayor doesn't have to put anything to council.
It's in your platform. Well, we don't know yet. It's in your platform to put that forward. So I would have that in my budget if that was in my platform and the people wanted it. I would put it toward the 16 councillors and say, as mayor, this was in my platform. The people want this. Put it on the floor and then take it from there. Now, the question you need to know, and I need to know, is would the mayor, after he put his budget forward, have full veto power to say, thanks for your input, but no thanks?
And that's what strong mayor is.
Okay? Not necessarily. There are strong mayors that have a balanced approach, but they have a little bit more opportunity
Jim,
to put their platform forward.
Great debate, sir. I appreciate it. We're just out of time.
Oh, by the way, I wrote the premier for that as well.
Very good. I appreciate. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Have a good one. Sorry, everybody on the lines. Monday, Todd's back. You can carry on the conversation about strong mayors. I appreciate you all for taking the time to join the conversation. I wish we could have got to more people, but we're just out of time. Need to stop down and take a break. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show, and we're back in minutes. Welcome back. Welcome back. There we are. Almost a flawless show. I say that with my tongue firmly planted in my cheek. Somebody sent me an email during the break and how I said I pride myself in trying to get names right, and then I got the magic mushroom name wrong, and then he said that I'm just Anyway, I try hard. Hope you're having a fantastic day. This is hour number 3 of the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrand. Vanessa Vandenez is on the other side of the glass, trying to keep things moving forward, and I can tell you that's not easy. You may have heard the story, I think it was in the news yesterday, about Nova Scotia universities sounding the alarm, I think to say, about declining international student enrollment and frozen tuition fees leading to some significant deficits. I think that Dalhousie itself was well into the 20 millions, and I think Cape Breton University was almost $7 million, and SMU and Acadia were almost $3 million. It certainly is, I would imagine, challenging times for the universities in Nova Scotia. We're very pleased to welcome the Executive Director of the Association of Atlantic Universities, Dr. Peter Halpin. How are you, sir?
Very well, Dan. Great to speak with you again.
Yeah, for sure. It seems like every time I fill in here, we're chatting about something. So maybe it's...
I'm always seem to be in the lineup.
There you are. Peter, let me ask you this. Is this... And somebody related to me like this, and I knew I was speaking with you today, so I thought, well, here, I'll let him answer the question. Is that the and I'm putting quotations around this, the gravy train that was international students for universities in our part of the world has now come to an end, and that's going to hit them hard in the bank account. Is that a fair statement?
Well, Dan, first of all, I think it's overstating it to describe it as a gravy train. There's no doubt international students have been attracted to our universities in this province and across the region for the past number of years. Our universities have worked hard to create a reputation for high-quality education in welcoming communities. But IRCC, that's Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, as everyone knows by now, changed its policies concerning international students in 2023 and 2024. And that's had a very significant negative impact, not just on our universities in terms of declining international student enrollment, but perhaps most importantly, it has done considerable damage to Canada's international reputation and brand, if I can call it that, among international students. They no longer consider Canada a welcoming country, and they find all of the processes around obtaining a student visa has become very time-consuming, very onerous, and these students have options. There's other countries and other post-secondary education systems around the world that are more than happy to welcome them to their campuses. So regrettably, our universities in Nova Scotia in particular have paid a real price for this federal government policy change.
Peter, when a Dalhousie University is staring at a budget line that's in the red at $20 million, what does that mean for the university? What does that mean for the staff and for the students?
Well, I think it means a lot because, as has been reported, virtually all the universities in Nova Scotia will be running a deficit this year. Some, very sizable, as you've mentioned, Dalhousie. And of course, that creates a lot of anxiety on the campus community, because when it's no different than any other organization. When you're facing challenging financial times, everything comes under review, including all expenses and sources of revenue. So all of our universities, based upon the situation, not just with international students, but incremental increase to the annual operating grant from the provincial government has caused everyone to look very, very carefully at all of their academic programming, all of the services provided to students, administrative spending, travel, hiring, so on and so forth. So clearly that would create a reasonable level of anxiety within the campus community. But I think everyone also realizes that this is the environment in which we find ourselves. And in some cases, tough decisions have to be made and will be made. But having said that, the Nova Scotia's universities have thrived and succeeded for well over a couple of hundred years in many cases. So I think that there's always light at the end of the tunnel, but that's not to downplay the work required right now to ensure that institutional finances are stable and that we continue to attract students domestically. That means, within Nova Scotia and from across the country and around the world.
What are we looking at? 2025, 26 academic year is, it's almost here, right? We're almost in August. What are we looking at for enrollment numbers this year? Is it still too early?
Well, I can't predict what enrollment numbers will be, Dan, but I can say that we know, starting with international student enrollment, 2024 was pretty bad. We lost about 14% of our international student enrollment, which represents nearly 2,000 students, undergraduate and graduate, among the international student ranks. And of course, just as I said from the outset, the damage to Canada's brand internationally and its reputation among international students has created a situation where I think international student enrollments in 2025 will be equally as grim as they were in 2024. And of course, that intensifies institutional competition for domestic students here within Nova Scotia, within the region, and from across the country. So it's without overstating it, it's a challenging environment.
Peter, I think last time you and I chatted, I asked you this question. Now that we're seeing all of these budget numbers in the red and such, I'm going to ask again, and I'm curious as to what your answer is going to be. There's a lot of people out there that suggest there are too many universities in Atlantic Canada, particularly in Nova Scotia. Do you think that's the case, or are we about where we should be?
Well, Dan, I anticipated that question. And
you know me too well.
No, not just you. I mean, we hear it fairly regularly, quite frankly. And, I will answer the question with a question in a way. Nova Scotia, I think, may be the only jurisdiction where you hear this commentary that, do we have too many universities? Virtually every jurisdiction I'm familiar with, particularly in North America, want universities. And just by way of example, the city of Boston, everyone here is familiar with the city of Boston. It has a population of almost 700,000 people. They have 35 universities and colleges in the city of Boston. In the greater Boston area, which has a population of about 5 million, they have 50 universities and colleges. So if you look at Nova Scotia, we have a population of slightly over 1 million people. We have 10 universities located in communities right across the province that serve those communities particularly well and historically have attracted students not just within the province, but from across the country and from around the world. Universities are a strategic asset, to any jurisdiction, a city, province, or state, and that's well recognized. And universities are one of Nova Scotia's key strategic assets. We're the second largest export revenue generating sector in the province. We generate well over $1 billion worth of economic activity every year. We attract people, young people from across the country and from around the world who attend university here and decide to stay. We've got a very high retention rate of students. and they are the future professional folks who, become the leaders in business and industry and community. And as an example, healthcare. That's an area that Nova Scotians are very rightly focused on these days and have been for some time. Over 20% of our graduates every year enter the healthcare professions in Nova Scotia. That's a very significant contribution to the province's Action for Health program. So that's a long answer to your question, Dan, but again, I'll circle back to the key point. Every jurisdiction in North America views universities and colleges as a key strategic asset, economically, socially, and culturally. And it's only in Nova Scotia where we hear this question, do we have too many?
Peter, it's always a pleasure, sir.
Well, Dan, thank you very much, and continue your great work this morning.
I'll do my very best.
Okay,
thank you, Peter.
Dan.
That is Peter Halpin. He's the executive director of the Association of Atlantic Universities. When we come back, one of the big festivals of the year is right around the corner. It's time for Jazz Fest. We'll dig into it. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Aalders. We're back in minutes. It's a rite of passage for the summer, right? It's we have the warm weather and the kids are out of school, and then July hits and it gets to about the middle of July and all of a sudden, bang, it's here. Halifax Jazz Festival time starts on the 15th of July, runs through the 20th, and I always know it's always been a great festival. I've been going to it since I came to Halifax 15 years ago, and when I look at the size of the festival, of the pamphlet and all of the stuff that's going on, and it's that thick, there's a lot of stuff that's going on. We're very pleased to welcome into the studio today to tell us a little bit about what's going on this year at Jazz Festival is the artistic director, Andrew Jackson. Andrew, how are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me in.
Now, I know you're really busy because this is like just a couple days before. It's the weekend before everything kind of kicks off. So I imagine, and we're very glad that you had some time for us today. For those that are not familiar, tell us a little bit about what Jazz Fest is. It's not what people think Jazz Fest is. They're not a bunch of just these old hipster jazz guys standing on the stage. There's really a lot of stuff involved in this.
Yeah, absolutely. So the festival, as you mentioned, kicks off on July 15th to the 20th. Jazz Fest is really a celebration of music of all types. I mean, of course, at the core, we have so much amazing jazz, some of the greatest jazz artists in the world coming across our stages, but it's really expansive. And it's my job as the artistic director is to put together this festival that offers something for everyone. So we've got hip hop, we've got some rock and roll, we've got something for everyone, but it's always just a little bit out of left field,
So let me ask you this question, Andrew, because I bet you nobody's asked it. Which one is on your count? Which one have you circled? Which artist is the one that Andrew Jackson's going to go, and that's the one I can't miss?
Well, I do get that question almost every day, and I think I say I can't play favorites, but like some of the highlights for me, I think we've got Femi Kuti and the Positive Force coming from Nigeria. Sure. One of the greats from a great family of Afrobeat music is coming through.
Afrobeat is very popular right now.
Yeah, exactly, and he's from the lineage of Fela Kuti and like the originators of that, so that's kicking off the festival. That's gonna be really amazing. For me growing up, Big Boy of Outkast, I listened to a lot of Outkast growing up, so that for me is another highlight. St. Vincent as well, and but like I said, everything is fantastic.
Some local flavor too. Adam Baldwin's going to be here for it, and Canadian flavor. Sarah Harmer's coming for the festival. So there really is just, and I know it's cliche, but there really is something here for everybody.
Yeah, truly. That's what we strive for.
Right. Tell me a little bit about Jazz Fest, and it's not just the kind of one stage. You build in all kinds of things into this 5 days, right? There's the main stage, the TD main stage, which is where all the big artists are, but there's workshops and there's free concerts and there's all kinds of things for people in the city.
Yeah, I mean, our goal is to be in everyone's faces for the 6 days of the festival, so we take it across the city. So for us, a new stage that we're going to be at this year is the Lighthouse Arts Center, where we have a lot of our really core jazz music. That's where Femi Kuti is going to be playing, and as well we've got Mike Murley with Mini Rosnaz, this guitarist Bill Frisell, who's like the premier jazz guitarist. So that's a new venue for us that we're excited about, and that's become a real great venue in the city. We've got just down the road from here, we've got our weekend stage at the Hydrostone, which features a lot of really great local acts as well. We have programming it through Halifax Public Libraries, where we do a lot of our workshops, as you mentioned.
And there's you mentioned the Hydrostone. There's the lighthouse. There's a bunch of different venues, right? Do you have like 5 or 6 venues that you got?
Yeah, exactly. And some of the local venues that present music all year round, including the Carlton. Then we have partnered stages, so people that present jazz on a daily basis, like the local on Godwin Street as well. And so all these places that are doing music year round, we like to support as well.
So tickets, right? Can you buy tickets for specific events? Is it a festival pass? Is it a combination of both? How do I do that?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. So you can buy individual tickets to the shows. So if you just go to our website, halifaxjazzfestival.ca, that's where all the individual tickets are. But we do still have festival passes available. They're going really quickly, but there are some left, and that's a really great way to take in the festival. So if you're interested in seeing 3 or 4 concerts, you can get that festival pass, and that's a great way to do it.
And stuff going on all day, right? So it's not like it's all happening at 8 o'clock at night in one spot. It's all over.
Yeah, exactly. So on the main stage there, we have programming Wednesday to Sunday from 11:30 to 3, which features all kinds of great local and national acts that it's free to attend. And again at the Hydrostone and everywhere, there's like 70% of our program, as we say, is free to attend.
So you get a chance to maybe see or hear something that you may not have heard before and discover that, yeah, I kind of like this stuff.
Yeah, and risk-free.
Yeah, well, that's just it. It doesn't cost you a whole lot. So again, where can we get all the information? Because there's a lot. Like, holy smokes, it's a tome here with all the stuff. So the best place to find out who's playing where and when is where.
Yeah, so go to our website, halifaxjazzfestival.ca. Again, we have our programs around town. That's a great way to interact with physical, and as well, you can follow us on socials as well.
And the Jazz Fest has really become internationally renowned. I mean, I hear people talk about it outside of the city. Like, yeah, I've been to Halifax for the Jazz Fest, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting to see where people are traveling from. And there's some people that, they mark it on their calendar every year to travel to Halifax to take in the festival for the whole time.
Very first thing I did when I moved to Halifax was to the Jazz Festival, and that was more than 5 years ago. Anyway, man, I appreciate it. I know you're busy. Andrew Jackson, Artistic Director of Halifax Jazz Fest. Again, check out their website. There's just a ton of stuff there. There's a lot of free stuff, which is good for me and good for you, I know. And get out there and enjoy it, because these festivals are fantastic. If you haven't been before, I highly recommend it. Thanks for coming in, man. I know you're busy, and all the best.
Thanks so much.
That is Andrew Jackson, the Artistic Director at the Halifax Jazz Fest. We're going to stop down and take a break. When we come back, maybe we'll give Andrew a little bit of an insight as to what the weather's going to look like next week for the Jazz Fest. Our weather specialist, Allister Aalders, will be your guest after the news. I'm Dan Ulstrand. We're back in minutes. And the aforementioned Allister Aalders is sitting right here in the studio with me. Allister, welcome back, sir.
Thank you very much. Glad
Hang
to be here.
on. We got the button push. Is it there?
Hello.
There
we go. Happy to be here.
It's my fault. It's the end of a long day and a
It's
long
the end.
week.
Hey, we won't blame you, right?
Yeah, and Vanessa, like she gave me that mum look. It's like that, Anyway, Allister Aalders is our weather specialist, and of course, when the weather specialist is sitting in front of you, the very first question you ask the weather specialist is, "Thanks for the rain, Allister."
I mean, people are asking for it, so I mean, a sincere "you're welcome" to those who want it. I mean,
yes.
Sorry if you don't, because I mean, people are on vacation this time of year, and maybe they're not liking that weather
and
today.
I think I said it off the top of the show today that in the neighborhood, I don't have any grass because I live in a building, but walk around the neighborhood where people do. The grass is looking a little bit, right? So like it's probably welcome. You probably need it.
We definitely need it. It is very dry out there, and I've been already hearing from some people who they've said they woke up and their wells have gone dry. So
already in July.
So
wow.
It's we've talked about this a lot, where we were in an extended period of drought, then we came out of it with a couple of good months in the spring, and now we're back into it. Most of the province is abnormally dry, and it's a moderate drought here in Halifax.
We'll put a caveat on the good months of rain.
Yeah. So it's tough at this time of year because it's so localized, right? I mean, any rain that we get, we get the odd, well, I shouldn't say the odd, because, I mean, we look at the summer 2 summers ago and it rained, pretty much all summer. But, the showers and the downpours, they're so hit or miss. I mean, just look at Tuesday.
Right, and I was going to ask you that because, we were talking about that storm for a day and a half, and the day of, I'm telling everybody there's a special weather statement, and we're going to have, these downpours, and then, I'm looking out the window and it's sunny. It's like, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, we could unpack that quite a bit about, just what transpired. I mean, part of it was that some of that tropical moisture from once Tropical Storm Chantal, it was a remnant low.
Right.
It was just the moisture was feeding into the cold front. I mean, the atmosphere was primed for the potential for these downpours. We did see some of that moisture holding offshore, but I do think, maybe there was a bit of a miscommunication, or just in that initial statement, and I'm not, this is not a criticism to Environment Canada, that perhaps maybe just the nature of the statement maybe led people to believe that it was going to be maybe a more widespread rain event, when it was very much looking like this is going to be hit or miss. Areas are going to get, they could have significant rainfall, but you don't have to go far and there will be little to no rain. I think that messaging kind of got lost in everything, which then surprised people when on Tuesday we did get, less than what I was expecting. We did get some of the downpours here in Halifax.
Couple downpours at my house.
But the overall amounts were on certainly the lower side of that scale. We did, which is good.
And you were saying, like, even in the run up to it, some places could get 2, could get 10, could get 40. It really is depending on where you are.
It really depends on where they set up and if they set up for a long period of time. And we've witnessed this with these systems in the past, where even the deadly flooding we had, I believe we're coming up on 3 years now this month, where parts of HRM had, well over 200 millimeters of rain from those thunderstorms that moved through that late Friday and into Saturday. But parts of HRM in the city had much less. And even as you moved eastward, it was very minimal. So the nature of this weather is incredibly localized. It's a bit tricky to forecast. You're just you're doing your best to communicate it effectively and properly. And it did catch some people off guard. Some of us had maybe a few drops of rain, if any. I mean, so it's incredibly localized. That's the nature often of the weather at this time of year. It's incredibly tricky. So I think people are probably welcoming the few showers that we've had this morning.
Right. You mentioned flooding, and of course the big meteorological story as of the last week has been those absolutely tragic floods in Texas. And I know that they're on a larger scale than we saw here, but I know that is bringing back a lot of memories for people here. Alistair, and I know you don't follow Texas weather very closely, but any idea as to, they're saying that they got like a summer's worth of rain in, like an hour. There was some tropical stuff from a storm that was down in Mexico.
Barry. It was the remnants of Barry. Yeah.
There's a bunch of different factors when it comes to why these kind of flash floods happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was devastating, but a number of factors that came together at once. I mean, you had, as we just said, the remnants of a once tropical storm that moved into an an already saturated, conducive environment for such an event to happen. We had a very mesoscale system that's set up over the area, very localized, the atmosphere very primed for these intense rainfall rates to sit over an area for a long period of time. Also, the area geographically, by the sounds of it, is prone to flooding, just the way...
Very hill. It's called the hill country for a reason.
Well, right. It's very, you have a lot of these river valleys that, that's a factor that does not help. I believe the area is somewhat more prone to flooding because of that. So that did not help. And then they were also experiencing a severe drought.
And the ground got really hard, right?
I mean, that's the problem that we have here too. Even if the ground is saturated in the summer, the rainfall rates are coming down so hard that it just runs off. It doesn't have a chance to absorb. If you have a light, steady rain, at least the ground can try to absorb that. But when it's coming down at such a high rate, plus you have a drought, the ground is so hard it's not able to absorb that moisture as effectively. So it was really just a combination of all these factors coming together, unfortunately, and just led to a very devastating situation. And like you just said, I mean, it probably, unfortunately, brings back some memories of what we experienced, 3 years ago.
And kind of a similar weather pattern where those thunderstorms kind of came over top of us and just stalled, right?
The training is the scientific term for it, where you have the thunderstorm roll over and then another one comes in behind it, another one comes in behind it, just like, trains going down the track. I mean, we don't see that too often here in Nova Scotia, but we these training thunderstorm patterns can set up, and because obviously the rainfall rates are so much higher in these thunderstorms and it's so incredibly localized, it just causes, it can cause devastating flash flooding. It's very challenging to forecast. From what it sounds like, there were some early indications that perhaps, I'm not necessarily to the magnitude of what unfolded, but they had some early indications that perhaps there could be a significant flooding risk. They had a heads up, I believe, a bit before, but it happened in the middle of the night.
Everybody was sleeping, right? And the questions about warnings and the best way to do that, apparently emergency alerts and those kind of things didn't wake up a lot of people. And it was like 4:00 in the morning when this happened. So there was a lot of reasons why that was just such a tragic event.
Very, very unfortunate, very tragic, and, a challenge to communicate ahead of time, and also, as it's unfolding. With flash flooding, it happens in a flash. Things are unfolding so quickly.
2 stories in an hour.
It's incredibly challenging. I just remember on that day that the flooding started here 3 years ago when I left the city, and it was raining and everything seemed fine. And by the time I got home and had supper, it was like, half of the 102 and the 101 were underwater and cars were stranded.
Right.
And so that's how fast this can happen. It's very challenging, and it's so tragic and unfortunate, and certainly thoughts and prayers to all of those in Texas.
For sure. Now to the weekend weather. What are we looking at this weekend? And I understand that I'm going to be very happy.
You're going to be very happy, Dan. The listeners, I think, are going to be very happy because we have a nice ridge of high pressure building in. And it's going to be a solid weekend with a mix of sun and cloud.
And low humidity.
A low humidity just in time for the weekend. Comfortable temperatures, 24, 25 degrees through the weekend. Locally, some backyards might get up to about 26. But right at the coast, a bit cooler. We're going to have sea breezes this weekend, so the wind's coming on shore but blowing towards the coast. A little bit at the coast, but nothing. It's not like a strong southerly flow, which should help. And we're going to see, like I said, sun and cloud. Those sea breezes converging might spark an isolated shower to our west this weekend, but Halifax itself looking dry, looking like we'll have a fair stretch of weather, and that's going to continue right into early next week. The weather looking fine through Monday and Tuesday. Looks like it might turn a bit unsettled mid to late next week, and also turning hotter and more humid. So enjoy the comfortable temperatures and the
Jazz Fest
nice
is next week,
weekend.
So there'll be a lot of people out and out there sweating.
Yes. It's festival season, and we're at the mercy of the weather this time of year, that's for sure.
As always, Aalders Aalders, an absolute pleasure. Can you tell this guy is checked in when it comes to the weather? Anyway, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Have a good weekend.
You too. Thanks, Dan.
That is our weather specialist, Aalders Aalders, with your weekend look ahead. When we come back, time to sit down with Cecil and talk sports. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrom. We're back in minutes. All right, welcome back. Got a busy few minutes left here. We got a couple minutes with Cecil, and then we got to welcome Clinton Wilkins in as it's a Mortgage 101 weekend. Cecil, how are you?
I'm good, Dan. How are you?
How are you dealing with the best team in baseball being the Toronto Blue Jays right now?
I wouldn't call them the best team in baseball right now. I would say that the Detroit Tigers might have something to say about that.
How about the best team in the American League East? How's that?
Well, they're not even the hottest team anymore. The Red Sox are. But so thanks for bringing that up.
Anyway, it's just nice to see Toronto atop the division. That's where I'm getting to.
Well, I think the Toronto fans have suffered greatly over the past few years, and anything to give them a little rise is a good thing right now. I know that half of them are Maple Leaf fans, and I don't need to go on now, do I?
No, and you know what? You're very, very right, Cecil, because a lot of the Jays fans that I talk to are like, yeah, it's great, it's awesome. We're just waiting for the end to come.
Right.
We're gonna hit the wall here soon.
They're going to be sliding down that hill, right around after the All-Star break. And, the thing is, though, they've been getting outstanding hitting, but the starting pitching's been good. And that's what's turned things around for the Red Sox too.
And the Jays have been winning those one-run games, which they usually lose, right? So, those walk-off runs and walk-off homers and those kind of things. It's actually, I know I'm biased, but it's been fun to watch.
Well, it has, and my question still is, what are they going to do with Bichette?
Right.
Are they gonna sign him to an extension before he gets to free agency? If so, they better hurry up.
Right, because it's not that far off.
Far off. Free agent after this season, I believe.
Cease, I know that the Boston Bruins are a sore point for you right now, but and the reason why I say that is, you and I haven't talked about Marchand's contract. That's caused a bunch of a stir within the NHL's ranks. Your thoughts on him signing until he's about 75 years old?
Well, first of all, I don't think that anybody really believes that he's going to be playing in 8 years. And I'm kind of depressed because I was hoping that he would return and end his career in Boston,
right?
Where he started, and I think a lot of Bruin fans were thinking that that's what his train of thought was. But they threw so much money at him. What is it, like $8 million a year?
Yeah,
or something crazy like that over the next 8 years, man. How do you say no to something like that?
Oh, and especially the team, right? Like the Florida Panthers are the team that won the Stanley Cup almost, and they're locked up all long term. So, we could be watching a dynasty happen here.
I think we are, and if they continue to get good goaltending, because they're going to score, and they're going to forecheck. If they get the goaltending, they're really looking at a three-peat.
Yeah, and they are the class of at least of the Eastern Conference, and with the mighty Toronto Maple Leafs getting rid of Mitch Marner, there's a lot of questions in Blue and Leaf land.
And the mighty Maple Leafs got rid of Reeves.
Well, yeah, I saw that. Brian Reeves got traded. So
for a defenseman that I never heard of. But.
Yeah, so there goes some grit too, right? So I
That's
think
right.
as a true Blue Maple Leaf fan, I'm cautiously optimistic this year. How's that?
What do you think Austin Matthews is thinking right now?
I think that this is his do or. I know we've been saying this for 5 years, but with the Marner question now answered, I think that it's his do or die year this year. I really do, because now there's no other excuses, right?
Yeah. Well, I think he's going to be a little bit hurt by the loss of Marner. Marner set him up quite a bit,
right?
For those slot shots. But my other question in the NHL, and I know you got to run.
Yep.
Connor McDavid, hello. Nobody's even talking about what's going on there.
Well, because
he doesn't seem too impressed.
Because the world will tell you that he's getting ready to sign a big contract with the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, well, hey, wouldn't that be something?
Oh, wow. Could you
Bring him
imagine?
to Toronto.
I don't even want to think about it, because it would be just too good.
You would be over the moon.
You got it, sir. Anyway, Cease, have a fantastic summer, sir, and I'll talk to you soon.
Great talking to you, Dan. Bye-bye.
That is our good friend Cecil Wright with a look at sports. Now we welcome into the program another one of the good friends of this program, somebody I haven't talked to in a while, and that is our good friend from Mortgage 101, Clinton Wilkins. Clinton, how are you?
Hi, Dan. How are you doing?
I'm terrific, man. How are you?
Happy Friday. I'm coming to you live from Cavendish PEI.
Oh, you're at the big concert this weekend.
I am at the big concert. I was lucky enough to see Shania Twain last night, which was amazing.
How was that for you? I know you were excited about it.
Oh, yeah. Canadian icon, best show. It was amazing. It was really, the vibes were high here in Charlottetown.
Now, we know that Clinton...
I should say Cavendish.
He's got his cowboy boots and his hat on, everybody. Just get that picture into your mind. And then, but he's going to take some time out of his busy social schedule this weekend to sit down with our good friend Todd and do the Mortgage 101 this month. What's on the agenda this month?
Well, we talk all about Pride. As you know, Dan, Pride here in Halifax is firing up next weekend. We actually have a float in the parade, so if any of our listeners see us with our new Defender, we have it all wrapped for Pride.
Nice.
Obviously, we're celebrating Pride, and, it's so important to talk about these things. One thing we kind of said was, why do we still need to celebrate Pride? There's a lot of equality and all of these things, and we talk about how important it is around homeownership and how Canadians, when they buy a home, they're really putting down roots in the community, for all different groups of people. So we talk a lot about those issues, and we actually take questions. We did a few streeters down on the street leading up to the show, and we answered some of those live on our show. So
Look
I think
at
it's
you
really,
guys.
really
Wow. Moving that bar that much forward.
We're getting high production here on Mortgage 101.
There you are. It's just moving that bar forward. Clinton, I got to ask you, because whenever I see things about happening in the real estate market or in the mortgage field, I always go to Clinton because he answers the questions and I can understand it. I read a story this week when I was doing the news that there's some criticism out there at the federal and the provincial level that dream for young people of home ownership is just non-existent anymore. Is that your experience, that young people are really having a tough time getting into the home market in today's conditions?
I think it's very challenging, Dan, but I think it's been challenging all along. I think the biggest issue here is the price of homes has paced faster than the incomes have, as we know. Now, I read something the other day. There was a report that came out that the average detached home in Halifax is now averaging at about $700,000.
Wow.
Which is pretty wild. We need a lot of household income, over $150,000 to make a transaction typically like that work, depending on what the down payment is. I can tell you, for first-time home buyers, a lot of these clients that are coming in to see us, they're getting large family gifts. And some of the gifts that they're getting are in the tune of six figures.
Wow.
When I first started doing this 20 years ago, a family gift was $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. And now we're seeing these gifts like in that six-figure range, which is pretty wild. There certainly has been a shift. But I've seen some of these parents of these borrowers come in to see me, because some of them have refinanced their own homes because, they have so much more equity. They've really obviously had that value growth as well. And they're telling me, Clinton, the reason that I'm doing this and I'm pulling the equity out and I'm giving this big gift to my kids is because if they don't buy a house now, they may never get into the housing market.
Right. It's scary. And that was kind of my next question is are we eventually going to hit a saturation point? Because salaries aren't keeping up with what the real estate market's doing. So do you think that we'll ever get to that point where the market says, okay, I need to make a correction here?
I think they've seen it already, Dan, in Ontario and in BC. Condos, for example, in Ontario, I say they're on sale. They're 25% off.
Right.
I think in Halifax, the challenge is we have a lot more demand in the marketplace than we do have supply. So I think it's going to be several years before we right the situation. But I did read an article the other day that the rental market is starting to soften in Halifax. There's been so many cranes in the air.
Right.
Even think about where you're at on Yonge Street in the studio.
Yeah.
So many new buildings have been opening up. I think that's good for real estate across the board, because that having more rental units that come online, it's going to open up more people to potentially sell their existing homes, go into a rental. Imagine a retiree. I think the challenge that we've seen the last 5 years is we haven't had the supply for people to sell their homes, go into a rental, and these first-time home buyers haven't had homes that have been affordable to buy. We need more real estate in this $500,000 range. And hopefully with these rental units coming online, we're going to see more of these listings come on board. Because that's really our number one issue here in Halifax. It's really the lack of supply and the lack of listings.
Mortgage 101 goes Saturday at 11, Sunday at 11. Clinton, enjoy the concerts, my friend. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Dan. Chat soon. Have a great weekend.
That is Clinton Wilkins, the host of Mortgage 101. That's going to do it for the week, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend. Thank you to Vanessa Vandenez on the other side of the glass. And thank you to you for spending some time with us. Take care. We'll talk to you when we talk to you. And remember, be kind to one another.